Hello, my name is Monica Isabel Lopez. After reading Batia and Ricci's theory on psycholinguistics, I wanted to examine my colleagues from the school I work at and compare them by age of acquisition of their two languages to examine them according to Batia and Ricci's theory. I was able to compare simultaneous bilinguals to early bilinguals and the different challenges they faced depending on the age they were when they acquired the second language. I wanted to find out how early bilingualism differs from late bilingualism in adult second language acquisition. The article notes changes in the capacity for acquisition at different ages that have been investigated in the research literature and discusses features of the sequence of language systems that constitute the process of acquisition. I interviewed and recorded 10 colleagues to be able to examine and compare them to Batia and Ricci's theory. I will play an edited interview I had with one of my colleagues who was exposed to two languages simultaneously. How old were you when you began learning English?
I don't have a definite age. I want to say since infancy because my grandma would talk to me in Spanish and my mom would talk to me in English.
What was the most challenging thing for you when learning English?
I would say learning the new vocabulary, maybe learning it in Spanish and then learning it in English.
She is an excellent example of a simultaneous bilingual receiving English from her mother and Spanish from her grandmother. Here is another interview that I edited. How old were you when you began learning Spanish?
I grew up speaking mostly English, but my grandparents spoke Spanish as a first language. So I guess I would say it was about 3 or 4 that I can really remember speaking to them or listening to them first and then trying to speak back to them in Spanish. But correct Spanish, I really didn't learn correct Spanish till I was an adult already working. And it was kind of forced on me because where I worked, most of the persons that were clients spoke Spanish. So I kind of forced myself to learn it, and then in college I took the Spanish courses. In high school I took French, so that wasn't very helpful. It actually became helpful when I was working, and I was working mostly with Spanish speakers, and I kind of forced myself to learn the correct Spanish.
So what was the most challenging thing for you in learning Spanish?
I think the most challenging was not the vocabulary, but the tongue. Making the sounds, because my tongue was very used to English, and sometimes I had trouble with the pronunciation of the sounds that I wasn't used to. But through practice and through not being embarrassed of the errors I would make, that helped.
Okay. So on this one, we can see that second language learners exhibit a number of crucial differences from the simultaneous bilingual. They have a well-established language system for their first languages, and some form of that system will be the initial language system in the sequence that makes up the process of second language acquisition, accounting for transfer of features from the first language to performance in the second language. The learner is more mature than a simultaneous bilingual, and her capacity for acquisition may affect the second language learner's ultimate attainment of the second language. The second language learner is older and may therefore be learning the language in a set of circumstances quite different from that of a simultaneous bilingual learner. 2 of my other colleagues I interviewed acquired language after the age of 5, but before puberty, therefore fall in the middle of the continuum with respect to the relative ease of success of language acquisition between those who undergo simultaneous bilingual acquisition in one hand and those who acquire second language as adults on the other. I learned that age of acquisition does matter.